What up, everybody? It was recently reported that Michael Rainey Jr. is set to star in a new horror movie called Goons. And this movie has just recently started production in New Orleans. And that's all good for Rainey Jr. and all, but the question I have after seeing this is, does this confirm the end of Tariq St. Patrick, at least for now? Ghost Season 1, Tariq had a professor that he ended up killing at the end of Season 1, Jabari Reynolds, a struggling author at the time who decided to write about Tariq and his family for his next story. When he took this story to his publicist, he was feeling the new story, but he wanted to know how the story would end and asked Jabari how the story would end, saying, does the kid end up dead, going to prison, graduating and going legit? But Jabari didn't know, so his publicist told him to figure it out, which caused Jabari to dig a little too deep, costing him his life. But with only 5 episodes left, this is the question we all have for all the characters in Book 2. What will be their fate? Dead in prison, or living to see a brand new day, like the song for the Part 2 trailer says. With Tariq, the comparisons have been made in all the promos all season. The theme has been like father, like son, leaving us to ask the question, does this mean that Tariq will have the same fate that Ghost had at the end of Power? Even the fact that the mid-season finale titled Ego Death had Tariq stand in the same position that Ghost was when Tariq came in and shot him. Could this possibly be foreshadowing that Tariq will also get shot at the end of Book 2? Now that Michael Rainey Jr. has started another project after all this time, I do think it is a possibility because of the timing of this announcement. Notice that this was made on the same day that Book 2 dropped the Part 2 trailer. This is a marketing scheme also used by MGM Plus when the Raising Kanan Season 3 trailer was released. The same day, MGM Plus announced that Grant Coleman, who played Ronnie on Raising Kanan, was cast for a role on their new show, Emperor of Ocean Park. And a lot of people said that this didn't mean nothing, that Grant could do 2 shows at once, and some were even saying that Ronnie was Breeze. But I made a video a few days after the news was announced and said that Ronnie's water would be getting cut off at the end of the season. And either though with Tariq, unlike Ronnie, I do hope that his story continues, and this news isn't exactly the same either, being cast for a movie and not another TV show. But it's the timing of this news that has me concerned. Because if they're just now starting the production of this movie, that means that the filming for the movie likely won't be finished until the beginning of 2025 at the earliest. So that means if he's going to continue on Power for another spin-off, that the production for that series wouldn't even start until sometime in 2025, meaning that the series wouldn't likely be released until sometime in 2026, leaving a big gap after the end of either Raising Kanan or BMF until the next Power spin-off is released, if Tariq's story is continued on another spin-off. But one difference between Rainey Jr. and Grant Coleman is that Rainey Jr. has already done a 10-year stint on TV and might only be doing movies right now, not wanting to make another long-term commitment. Rainey Jr. has also said on interviews that he don't want to be typecast as Tariq, and also that he's ready to play a new role like a nerd, a funny role, a family man, a role pretty much the opposite of Tariq. But if Tariq doesn't die at the end of Book 2, one way his story might end temporarily, where we might not see him in the next spin-off, but at the same time they could always bring him back in the future, is for Tariq to go to prison at the end of the series. This is something that we haven't seen utilized with characters in the Power universe, as we normally see them getting killed off the show. But in real life, in the game, people go to prison all the time. Just think if Power would have ended with Ghost getting locked up and going to prison for one of the murders he committed, then all the talk would be about Ghost getting out of prison instead of Ghost being alive, regardless if we ever actually saw him on screen or not. And it's the same for characters like Andre Coleman or Kanan, whose story was close to ending in prison. What if Dre never got set on fire? Or Kanan didn't decide to shoot out with the cops? Then the suspense of those characters returning would always be looming, even if it never happened. But with that said, I feel like there's a chance that Tariq could actually end up in prison at the end of Book 2. But this also would have been Ghostface at the end of Power if Tariq wouldn't have shot him, because Blanca was on her way in the door with a warrant for his arrest. The thing is, even if Ghost would have been convicted for Terry Silver's murder, so much of the evidence that was used against him was fabricated that they could have easily brought him back at any point by throwing out his case. And with Tariq, it's no different. Just look at the cop who's out to get him. And in episode 2, he warned Tariq that one way or another that he was going to put Tariq where he belongs. But at the same time, Carter is dirty himself. So if Carter ends up arresting Tariq, he could always get exposed in the future, which could be the reason for Tariq getting released from prison, like how Ronnie was released in Raising Kanan, when it was already said that he was supposed to be in prison for the rest of his natural life. Also, keeping in mind that Carter's main rule is that innocents don't get hurt. And already in the first 5 episodes of Season 4, Tariq has already killed what Carter calls 2 innocents, Agent Young and Salim. And especially with Salim, Salim's murder was rushed and unplanned, much like Ghost when he killed Terry Silver. I made a whole video talking about the comparisons between these 2 kills. Make sure to go on my page and check that video out if you haven't yet. But just like Blanca was about to arrest Ghost for killing Terry at the end of Power, Book 2 could possibly end with Carter arresting Tariq for the murder of Salim. But I also have to mention the fact that just about every main character on the show knows that Tariq shot his father, James St. Patrick. He admitted this to all the Tejadas but Kane in Season 1, then admitted it to Kane in Season 2 when they were tricking Kane into thinking he was going to kill Lorenzo. Davis knows from the video of Tariq at the graveyard in Season 1 as well. In Season 3, when Tariq was riding the car with Effie to the crime scene where she thought she killed Lauren, he straight up admitted to Effie what he did. Then at the end of Season 3, Brayden told Tariq that he didn't want to become the type of person who could kill their own father. When Tariq said he never did that shit, Brayden told him that he didn't have to. So that's a lot of people who know what Tariq did, and if Carter starts pressing any one of them, knowing that he wants to take Tariq down, they could then use this information to tell Carter. Then Carter could fabricate the rest of the evidence to get Tariq arrested. Then this could potentially set up one of the biggest plot twists of all time if Ghost were to ever return. Then Tariq might get his charges dropped and released from prison, or at a minimum get his charge reduced to attempted murder instead. And don't get mad at me for talking about Tariq going to prison. Tariq is my second favorite character in the Power universe after Unique. But at the same time, I still have to discuss all the possibilities, especially when new reports come out like Rainey Jr. starring in a new role. But at the same time, with that said, going to prison for a few years never hurt nobody either. I went to prison myself, and personally, I feel like I came out better after getting some time to slow down. If I was going to get back in the game when I got out, I would have done it bigger than I had before. And doing anything else, I was going to do it better than I could have before. And one of the critiques of Tariq's character is that he isn't tough enough anyway. After Tariq survives prison for a couple years, that will no longer be the narrative. But there's another way I could see Tariq getting locked up also. And that's getting set up the same way that Ghost and Tasha set up Kanan to go to prison. Tariq could potentially get set up by Brayden and Elle. The trailer shows Brayden in Elle's dorm room with his gun like he might be taking Elle out. But what if he's actually only doing something similar to what he did with Lauren after Tariq tells Brayden he has to take Elle out because she's a loose end? And because Brayden won't take Elle out, they then decide to set up Tariq to go to prison instead. It was said at one point in an interview with Gianni Paulo that we won't feel the same way about Brayden's character by the end of Season 4. This most likely means that there will be a falling out between Brayden and Tariq, with Brayden doing something shady now that he's a cokehead. But if Tariq were to get killed off the show at the end, I also think that Brayden would be on the top of the list of people who could pull the trigger, because it would most likely be someone who Tariq would least expect, like Brayden or Diana. And there you have it. Is Book 2 the end for Tariq St. Patrick? Will he end up dead or in jail? Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.